Hey everybody, it's Justin from Built, and this weekend I'm going to a large public event with thousands of people, and I'm going to be taking my eufyMake E1 with me. We're going to set up a booth, and we're going to be making hundreds of items for people while we're there. So what I wanted to do was make this a business-focused video. Not only will this apply to people who are interested in the eufyMake E1, but also laser engravers, 3D printers, whatever you do that you might be out at a event with. There's other options that you can explore. I've actually owned a very large public event before, so I know that there is value in coming in as a service over just a table vendor. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Then we're going to look at the pre-production that I need to do in order to make this event successful. And then we'll go to the event. I'm bringing my cameraman Amari, so he'll videotape everything while we're there. And then we'll kind of have a review at the end, see what went wrong. I'm sure something will, but things going wrong for me is a learning experience for you, so that's always good. So let's learn a little bit more about events today on Built. Okay, so let's talk about different types of events that you can attend. So obviously the craft show and craft fair applies to most people that are doing woodworking, 3D printing, laser engraving, just general crafts, things with the eufyMake. But those are a type of event where you're going as a vendor, you're setting up a table, and you don't know if you're going to make money or not. You might do very well, you might not. You might actually lose money at an event like that. So there are other types of events that you can attend and be more like a service. And typically with that type of arrangement, you're already guaranteed a profit. You know what you're going to make. So these are types of things that are very lucrative and might not be an everyday thing, but it's definitely things that you want to be aware of and that you can try for. To rewind for a second, I owned a very large event. I had a giant Christmas light show that I put on for 45 days here in New Jersey. I had over 100,000 people attend this event over that time. And as the event owner, it was my business model to make sure that these people had enough of a good experience when they were there, enough things to do that they wanted to come back the next year. So at this event, we had all sorts of Christmas light stuff that you could walk through, all very holiday-esque. But we also had a heated vendor tent that we had a whole bunch of vendors in there selling their wares. The honest answer is, if I hadn't been able to fill that tent with paid vendors, I probably would have just given away all of that space for free to vendors to be there because their presence made my event better. I wanted to have the vendors there. And if any of those vendors had come to me with a different type of proposal, I probably would have entertained it because, again, I want as many types of activities and draws so that those people who attend that event would feel good about it. When I talk about other types of arrangements, food trucks are a very good example of this. And I had lots of food trucks at my event too. Some food trucks or events that work with food trucks will just charge a flat fee for the food trucks to be there. Other ones will work with them and say, hey, we will take a certain percentage cut of your profits from the day. That way, if the event is super successful that day and they made lots of money, you made some money. If the event was really dead and nobody showed up that day, they're not giving you a big fee that they are probably losing money from. So there's different arrangements that can be made. So let's think about some other events and explore them a little further.
Let's start with an easy, obvious one, that is weddings. So not only can you help make things before a wedding, so like place cards and invitations and centerpieces and things, you could actually go to the large venues. They'll typically have like bridal tour days where they have like interested bride and grooms that are going to come in there and look at the facility, and so there's lots of vendors that can be there. I guarantee you if you set up a booth with a whole bunch of this type of stuff, people are going to be interested and you're going to get some sales because specifically in weddings, people are looking for different. They don't want to be like their friend Sarah. They want to have something different and unique and make themselves look good. So if you have some really interesting things to offer, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of interest there. Additionally, you can also look at weddings as, hey, hire me for X amount of money. I will come to your wedding during your cocktail hour for X amount of time and I will make X number of units there. You can take pictures of the guests just like a photographer might do a photo booth. except you're going to print them 3D onto, keychains and magnets and whatever else, the person might be interested in. So again, since they're looking for unique stuff, that might be really nice. Having offers where you are paid beforehand to go somewhere and produce a certain amount of things for a certain number of hours is really nice. You know what you're getting into. You can decide if it's worth your time and your money or not. Obviously, you set the price for that type of thing. It's much better than going out to a vendor fair where you spend money on a booth and maybe you don't sell anything. So having that pre-booked type of thing is always good too. Obviously, anything with holidays, like I showed with my Christmas light event. If people are buying things for that holiday, you want to be selling stuff, of course. Wineries, breweries, golf outings, college stuff, large organizations, like your Knights of Columbus and different types of club type of activities. They might want to do club-wide type of things where, they're making personalized things that have their club emblem on it, for example. That same type of thing plays over to corporate. So corporate wants their logo on everything. Corporate does a lot of events where it's an educational business time for their employees, but they will also bring in like comedians to entertain everybody. They still want the event to be fun in some ways so that people are okay with going. So you can be another option that you pitch to go actually to an event, produce things on site with the company logo, but also personalized for the employees and things. And of course, corporate stuff is the bread and butter of personalization businesses. So any sort of contact that you have with any corporation in that means will most likely lead to other types of business you might be able to do with them. And of course, sporting events like I'm going to. Sporting events, as when I was growing up, you'd always have the photographer come once a year and take like your team photo that you would get on a plaque or just regular photo stuff. Nowadays, people really like to do like team gift types of things. So you might have a softball team that wants the same like pink tumbler made with the team logo on it. Each of the girls' tumblers have their own individual number and then their name on each one. And then it's something that they all have in unison, like team spirit type of thing that they go out with. You can also go to really large events, like there's the giant gymnastics tournament that happens in Florida where you have like 100,000 competitors there over like 2 weeks. So being there not only gets you one-on-one type of sales, but it might introduce you to teams. It might be something where you might be able to do a whole bunch of stuff over the course of the year. Certain teams don't have that team spirit, and then other teams very much have that team spirit. So being able to, offer team-wide services is something that a lot of people are interested in. This also translates over to just you have to make things happen for yourself. If you just want to go sit at a table at a vendor fair, that is like a baby step into making things happen for you. You just rented a table and you went there and you hope that things are going to happen for you at the table. The other option is making things happen for you. Reaching out to companies, organizations, clubs, literally calling people, literally mailing them, emailing them, things like that. Showing them examples of the things that you can do will drum up business for you. This is business 101 for any business, but it's work. And so that is more than what a lot of people who try to start out and do little things want to do. So just bear that in mind, that if you do put that work in, you can have big results. Me, for example, long ago, I had my own Kung Fu tournament that I ran with a school that I was affiliated with my kids. And I literally just went on Google and started checking around for all the different martial arts places in our state and just called people and went and visited them and emailed them and whatever. And I got a whole bunch that wanted to come to our tournament. You put in the work and you actually get things done. So just remember that anything that you're doing in this space, there is other opportunities, but you also have to make sure that you put the work in to get into those other opportunities and make those sales happen.
So let's talk about this event that I'm going to and possible relationships that you could build there. We're going to a Kung Fu tournament. So again, this is not your like vendor fair where the operators of this are only there to make money and to sell booths. That's all like vendor fair type of stuff does. This is something different. This is a Kung Fu tournament. And so while they're also looking to bring money in, they're looking to make their Kung Fu tournament better for the people who are coming. So I reached out to the owners and said, hey, how does an outside company get involved here? And they said, well, you could either be a sponsor or you could buy a vendor table. Okay, the normal stuff. So I talked with them a little bit more, and that's really the key here, is to have conversations with people to see how you can add things to them, how they can benefit from you being there. And so they eventually told me, oh, well, we have some other vendors that we're inviting for free because it adds value. They're inviting food trucks. They're looking for like some little kid entertainment. They're also inviting a masseuse because you're sitting there for 10 hours in a bleacher. And so there'll be a lot of people excited that a masseuse might be there. So, they asked me, well, how would you fit into like a good service added? And I said, well, I have tons of machines that do everything. And so I could definitely do some personalization stuff. The medals that the kids win, I could totally put their scores on there. All the gear bags in Kung Fu look the exact same. They're all made by the same company. So personalizing them would be good. I can totally do that with the E1 here. And so they were like, oh, that is really cool. That actually adds a lot of value. So just having that conversation could take it to, hey, come here for free. Very good value added thing. We continued the conversation more, and I said, well, is there any options for some more partnership in this? And they said, well, if you're not going to be a big sponsor, if you wanted to do some sort of profit sharing with us, we could make you like a mini sponsor and put you in some of the advertising stuff. That might be advantageous for some people. So if people are getting emails about the event that they're going to beforehand, and then all of a sudden they see, hey, Bitterbilt's going to be there, and he's going to be doing XYZ, they might go visit my website. They might purchase some bigger things that I have there. It might expose them a little more forcefully, so you might result in more sales there. So that's an option as well. This event is actually run by a nonprofit. So Kung Fu is not a sport with money. My kids won't get a college scholarship to go to their college of choice like a basketball player might. So this tournament actually went nonprofit, and they give out college scholarships to the people who place in the tournament. So that's really, really cool. But being a nonprofit, they also have opportunities for doing things like raffles and stuff. So then that turned into something, well, hey, what if we do a raffle together? Obviously, you have to abide by the laws for the particular state that you're in and all that type of stuff. Consult a lawyer, little blurb there. But there was something that we talked about, and it still could have been a profit-sharing thing. In the end, I'm not there to make money. I wanted to make a cool YouTube video, and this is a nonprofit that I care about, so I wanted to give back to them. So I actually talked with eufyMake, and eufyMake was gracious enough to go in on all this with me. So we're actually going to donate 100% of the money back to the charity so that they can do more scholarships at this tournament. So that's pretty cool. But I wanted to still be able to show you all the numbers and everything from this type of event. What they're going to be doing is they're going to sell a $5 raffle ticket, and then they get a sheet of paper, and you can come over to me, and you're either going to get a personalized keychain for your gear bag, boy or girl, with your name on it, that we're going to print on the E1, or we're going to customize your medals with a laser engraver that I'm going to bring. I would do it all on the E1s, but I only have one machine, and so you really have to be realistic about time it takes to do things and the volume of people that you have to deal with. So for this particular one, I'm going to do more than one. eufyMake's busy giving out all of their machines to the Kickstarter people who are desperately wanting their new machines, so they wouldn't give me one right now. But in future, I'll probably have multiple machines to be able to do cool custom additions to their medals on that too. So let's look now at some options that I have to do to prepare before we go to this event. So speed at an event is key. You do not want to be wasting an hour doing one thing. You want to just crank out as many products as you can possibly sell during a time period. So we chose an item. We chose boy and girl Kung Fu keychains that we're going to personalize there, that we could pre-make most of it beforehand. So literally we have printed the boy and girl CMYK white CMYK, so it's visible from both sides on the acrylic. And we're only going to have to print the name when we're at the event. So I can actually print 8 of these in 4 minutes by doing it, because all of them will be lined up exactly the same on the jig in there. And so the printer is really only going over this small piece and it's done. So that's really something you have to look at. Can you accomplish large volumes if you're at an event like this where you need to accomplish large volumes. We expect to accomplish large volumes. To do this too, we batch printed all of these beforehand here. Of course, when you print something with acrylic, you end up getting a jig when it cuts it out. So we just taped our jig down to the big bed and we just kept going. We've made 700 of these keychains, 350 of the boy, 350 of the girl. And so this was something that we felt was fast, was appealing to the people who are going, and then it's also cheap. So from a material standpoint, the acrylic, the little keychain, and the ink that we used on this bring it to 20 cents. 17 cents of it is the acrylic. That's the majority of it there. So because we're pre-making stuff, you obviously don't want to make too much. And so by keeping the cost down, even if you do make too much, you still should be in a decent profit margin if you're selling them for a few bucks.
When I was first making my jigs, I laid everything out inside of eufyMake software. The camera's really accurate in here, so I was able to just visually position everything. But there is also a 0-point calibration system in here, which is good for when you're using jigs with repeatable prints. Once I have all this laid out, we're going to go ahead and test it out and see how the first batch comes out.
So when you're finished printing a batch print like this that's in a jig, it's very important for the first time that you do this to spend a lot of time and go back over each one of these and make sure that everybody's lined up correctly. If you feel like this one maybe could just use a smidge to the right, do that in the file, and then it's going to be printing correctly all the way through going forward. Like this guy, I feel like he could be down just a teeny bit, down just a teeny bit. You can tell like around the fist, this guy's more centered than these two, so they need to come down. So spend your time, figure it out. Once you tweak this file, it's going to be good to go for the rest of your batch prints. When you already have this relationship with the event, it's good to ask them if there's anything else that they need made, because they're probably using vendors for all sorts of things. Maybe you'll come in cheaper. Maybe there's something they haven't been able to fulfill yet. At a Kung Fu tournament, you have trophies and medals and all sorts of awards and things. And so they told me, hey, we actually need 10 awards for some VIPs that are coming. And so we worked together on this. And so we took a 3-pound, 11-inch slab of marble, and using the E1, I 3D texture printed on here their logo, as well as a nice message for the VIP on the back, thanking them for coming. So this in material cost me $23 to manufacture. If you look online, if you just do a quick Google search for like a stone 11-inch award, the price tag is really big. So for me, making 10 of these, this could be several $100s in profit added on to whatever I'm going to do at the event as well. So always make sure that you inquire as well, because they might specifically be looking for something that you would be able to fulfill for them.
Over at the event, we had a 4-table setup, and right off the bat, I had lots of questions about our canvas prints. We'll go back to talking about those canvases a little bit later on. So the event started off, you can see all of my awards that I created down on the VIP table. The kids assembled out on the mats. The mascot Ava asserted its dominance over Justin Benedict, and they even had the chancellor from the Chinese consulate give a speech, finalized with the presentation of the cup. They had some pretty good effects there, and the event got started. So for us, it actually started really, really slow. We only had one, family over at the table at a time. People weren't really even buying. They were just kind of looking and checking things out. So we actually went over to Justin, the organizer of the event, and asked him to make an announcement, not to wait that, we're going to get too busy. We're not going to be able to handle everybody. And so once he made that announcement, we really started to get a steady flow of 2 people, 3 people, 4, and it snowballed from there. Once people actually got a hold of the different things that we were making, they would tell their friends from the same school that was there. And so, by around the halfway mark, we had a 30-person line deep for the entirety of the event, and it even kept going. We did not stop making things for an hour and a half after the event had closed, and they were telling everybody to leave. So definitely that announcement really, really helped us, because the line got long, and we just couldn't catch up.
Be a proud dad for a second. This is my son Ben. He ended up with 5 gold medals at this event, so he definitely had an awesome day. My other son Owen, he ended up with 2 gold medals and a silver. He's actually going to be trying out for the top team in the entire country in December, and the top 2 people from that will actually go to the Junior Olympic Games representing the United States. So big fingers crossed for him. He's pretty excited for it.
Okay, so I'm back at the shop. I really, when I was at the event, wanted to talk to you in the camera more. But at around the halfway mark of the event, we got slammed. It did not let up even for an hour and a half after the event was closed. Everyone was told to leave. They're breaking everything down. I had a line of people in front of me. So we just couldn't fit it in. So I learned a lot at this event. I wanted to give you a recap now and kind of inform you on a lot of the really good things that I learned taking this machine to this event. Some of these things are generic event things and some are specifically related to the E1. So first off, definitely the transport. I had to take special care when taking this to the event. You need to keep it upright. I took out every single one of my ink cartridges. I put them all in Ziploc baggies. I used a straw to like suck all the air out of the Ziploc bag because you don't want the ink on these to dry out. I also removed this cleaning cartridge on the side. And when you purchase this machine, it actually comes with these 3 little rubber stoppers that go in the machine. Don't throw these away. Keep them, because what it'll do is it'll keep things from getting messy. There was another tester who transported this only 30 minutes in their car with all the ink and everything in it. And when they got there, there was a whole bunch of leakage in here. And this ink can stain the plastic. I would never want to get it in my car. So take all the cartridges out. Just be safe about it. It only takes a minute. I also kept the original box from everything, so I was able to, safely pack this because I was doing a 4-hour drive down to Maryland. So that's important. Then you never know what your situation's going to be like, so I brought with me one of these. This is a fold-out wagon. This wagon can actually hold 300 pounds. It literally emptied every single thing that I needed for this event, and we just easily walked in one trip with everything. We didn't have to kill ourselves carrying all sorts of stuff. I highly recommend bringing a wagon with you for any type of event. It just stayed behind us. It was good for us to keep like our trash and different things that we didn't need anymore in. And then we packed it back up again, brought it back out to the truck. Everything loaded up fine. Power is a huge consideration. I was lucky enough that I was at a convention center, so I had outlets that I could plug into. But even if you're going to an indoor event, sometimes you won't have access to power or you have to pay for that access. So make sure you find that out beforehand. It's a good idea to set up your booth at home before you go so that you know you're bringing enough power cords with a whole bunch of adapters on here. I really like this one. I needed 3 of, well, not that I needed this many plugs, but I needed 3 extension cords to be able to plug everything in. Now, if you're going to be outside, gas generators or battery banks are a great option. Anker has a really nice one. A 2,000 to 3,000 watt one will definitely more than cover you if you're using this machine or like a laser engraver along with it, that type of stuff, over the course of a day. But, some people get even bigger ones because they have more aggressive machines they need to hook them up to, or they just want to be able to use them for home emergency backups. It's nice when you buy those things because you can actually use them for camping and all sorts of other stuff too. So here is my first problem that happened at the event. When I got there and I set everything up, I went to connect to the internet. Now, at this event, it was a conference center and it had a closed Wi-Fi that I could pay for to get onto. So I did that. And I was easily able to get my laptop on there. But my machine, I was not able to get it onto this Wi-Fi because it was heavily secured. It had pop-ups that came up that you had to type things in. And so I could not get my eufyMake E1 on that Wi-Fi. That was a huge problem that I had to deal with. Eventually, I was able to get it onto my phone's hotspot. This, however, is not a good idea for events because when you have large amounts of people in a closed area, the cell network slows down because you have so many extra people accessing that network.
and you just have a lot of interference in the facility that you're at with so many people with so many devices on their phones and things. So I was able to get through the event using my phone's Wi-Fi hotspot. It did disconnect several times, which then was a bummer because then I had to reset things. It slowed down my production. So you want to make sure that you have a more stable connection. The E1 is coming out with a offline mode. And actually, I'm going to California in a couple days to do an event with eufyMake. And the engineers heard from me after this event, and so they worked really hard, and they almost have offline completely done. We'll be using it at that event because I said, you know, at really important events like that, you have to be able to be offline. So when you guys get your machines, if you invested in the E1, it is going to have an offline mode, so you will be able to use it without internet. But just remember that this is intermittent. Also, one other quick fix that I had to do for this. My machine, even when I turned on my hotspot, didn't see my hotspot from my phone. And that's because my phone was called Justin Bittner's iPhone 14 Pro Max, right? Like long name. Apparently, certain devices don't like really long names, and so it won't even display it. So I changed my phone's name from that long name to just Justin's, and then it popped up on the Wi-Fi. So remember that if you do ever have problems connecting any device, a lot of devices like shorter names with no special characters. You know, jigs are super helpful. They help things go faster when you have repeatable processes. Now, I have a girl keychain and a boy keychain, and they are different shapes. So before I went, I made, you know, some acrylic jigs. These were ones that I used for the mass production. So basically it was only the top line here. I made an all-girl one, an all-boy one, and then I made one that was like half and half. Well, in the end, I ended up throwing away all those jigs and just freehanding them all. And it was because it was the flow of people that came over to my table. I could never fill up the jig the way I wanted to make everything work as fast as I wanted to. In my head, when I had large volumes of people coming over to the table, I could fit 8 keychains in my jig at one time and print them all at one time. That's the most effective way for me to make as many as possible, as quick as possible. But it might be like 6 boys and 2 girls, or it might be 3 girls, 4 boys, and then when I start worrying, oh no, now there's another girl. Like, it was so inconsistent, the amount of people that were coming over, that the jig didn't work. And so my takeaway from that is, if you're doing something like this, where you're doing rapid work, try and make your items the same shape so you can use one jig universally, whether it's a boy or a girl, or only have one item. But if you have multiple items, try and make them the same shape so they all fit in the jig easily. That would have made things a lot faster for me. Individually putting these on the bed without jigs meant that every time I was putting in names, I had to like rotate it a little bit, move it a little bit over. All of that took a lot more time at the computer, which slowed down my production speed for people. Lastly, let's talk about making a lot more money at this event than what I pulled in with the keychains. So Scouts Honor, this is exactly how it happened. I'm a YouTuber. I own several businesses. I'm not a production shop. So I was not there trying to get more orders for anything. That's not what I do. So I was more using what started to happen as information for this video for you. So I had my table, and I had a lot of examples of what I've made with this machine, all the stuff that I've shown in my videos on the eufyMake E1. And so it's not really Kung Fu specific. And people came over and everybody was like, wow, they thought it was cool, but nobody was really trying to buy any of those examples that I had. Then I made some examples that were very Kung Fu related, and we're at a Kung Fu event. So there were people interested in buying those, not a ton, but there were some people interested in buying that stuff. But crazy interest in anything that had my children in it, that people were asking, can I get my daughter in this? Can I get my son in this? And so I had a light box that had my sons doing some stuff. I had a cell phone case with my son on it. And then I had these canvases that also were printed 2.5D, where I raised my kid in the design and then the rest was flat.
I could have sold over 100 of these, and I'm not exaggerating that number. We were inundated with people like, how much is that? How much is that? How much is that? And I had to just tell everybody, it's just an example. We're here just showing what the machine can do and helping with the event. But there are lots of people buying this machine that can make this type of stuff for you. But so I asked a lot of people like, hey, what would you price that at? What would be a reasonable price? And the answer was about 75 bucks is what people were willing to spend on that. If you go online to like buy canvases, you can buy canvases of around this size for like 30, 40 bucks type of thing. But this is customized for their children, and it's 3D here, so that other things kind of give it the intrinsic value to make it worth more. At 100 people at 75 bucks, that's $7,500. That could have been a real good day as a vendor if you were out there, at least revenue-wise. Now, why were they interested in this? And it's not even that it's this specific thing. Two main things. One, they liked the cool 3D effect. That was something people hadn't seen before. So that was a big attractor. But number two, it was just good design that applied directly to the event that we were at. People wanted a really cool looking photo of their kids like this. These types of photos usually have a background of bleachers and judges and all sorts of stuff. If you're somebody who goes to sporting events like wrestling or anything, it's all the same picture all the time. So I cut out all that background, put a black background, and I put the Kung Fu Federation logo in the background there. And I had a lot of people ask me, hey, could you put like our Kung Fu Schools logo back there? Sure, that would be super easy, stuff like that. So doing something that's very tailored to the sporting event that you're at, real good success with something like this. And that applies over to tumblers and all sorts of other things. Part of it is the cool technology, but a bigger part of it is the design work that you're doing. So if you have really cool designs for that, awesome. Now, what you should do with that is have a sign-up sheet, because I could never produce this on site live for as many people that wanted it. I would have had to have like 20 machines there running the whole time. So having a sign-up sheet is great. Pre-make things like this that are very tailored to the event that you're going to, that people are going to have a big interest in, especially if it relates to their children, on display there, and then have an order form that, hey, you provide me the file and pay for it here, and then we're going to ship it out to you within a week. Great. I had some people that were actually angry at me because I was not selling these. In particular, there was a guy who was a lawyer that was there, and he's like, name your price. I have to have that. And I'm like, no. He did not like that answer. He wanted of himself in his office. So come up with a cool design, make it tailored to your event, and you could actually clean up really well. If I had been there trying to make money, the thumbnail of this video would have been very different. I would have been like, I made $7,500 with my E1 in one day. That type of clickbait thing. But I was there to help out at the event. So hopefully this type of information, you can take this and apply it to other types of events that you're going to go to as well. To end this off, I texted Justin Benedict, the organizer and runner of this tournament, and I asked him, do you feel having my table there was an added value to the tournament? And if it wasn't me, and it was some other random vendor who was charging for that service at the event, would you still feel the exact same way? And his response, and I quote, if it wasn't you, but provided the same things, I would still be very grateful. But having someone as close as you and my friend made it all the more sweeter. We're truly grateful to Bittner Built's presence and partnership at this year's event. Your table didn't just fill a space. It added real energy, value, and connection to the experience for our attendees. Thank you for helping making the day more meaningful and memorable. So obviously my friend, but the big takeaway is I wasn't just a vendor there, and there were vendors there that were out in the hallway. And they actually came in to check out our booth all the time, like, what's going on that you have literally 30 people deep line all the time over here? So I even actually, one of the people were interested in buying a eufyMake. But the main thing is I provided a service to this event that people were very into. So again, I know you might be watching this video and say, yeah, Justin, you had a friend that did something or whatever. You have connections and things. You're a YouTuber. You can reach out to people. You have to reach out to people. You have to do the legwork. Things will not fall in your lap. You have to make it happen for yourself. It won't happen unless you put the work in. But if you have a real value that you offer to these types of events, you can form a better relationship with them than just a random vendor who's renting a table. Obviously, they want to make money off of you. No question. But they also need their event to go well. They need people to want to come back every year. And so if you offer a value, like he's saying here, to the event, other things can happen. I had people at the event asking me if they could bring things next year that I could do things with for them. And that basically implies you expect that I'm going to be here every year now. I'm going to be a staple of this event. And definitely there were other people who run other Kung Fu events that were there too, looking at the machines and things, trying to think, oh, I guess we need to get this type of stuff too. So I think we did pretty well at that. Now, eufyMake, I have to say another huge thank you to them. I went to them and asked them, would you help out my friend's tournament? They were super gracious. I'm so thankful that they participated in all of this. I cannot say thank you enough. Definitely supporting this nonprofit is always a good cause. And so I love working with eufyMake, and I have tons of friends over at the company now. We have a great relationship, and I like the product. So it's all good, all sunny over there. If you got some good content from this video, I hope you will hit the subscribe button. That's really what helps me grow this channel. I'd appreciate it. And as always, stay safe in the shop. I'll see you in the next one.